Many people right now are trying to understand the mentation of Donald Trump, but they made a mistake and they tried to interpret or even to overinterpret his acts at the tactical level. So they don't see the grand strategy and they are trying to understand his position only with very low level problems. So the idea is not, of course, any separation of the world. In fact, the target of the US right now is the opposition with China. And one problem with China is the existence of the BRICS Plus. So the idea is to try to separate them and to make new friction between those countries in order to avoid a great alliance with China. So we have Brazil, we have Russia, India, China, South Africa, and of course, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, of course, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. For the last one, we have already some difference, and they are closer to us. It's the same thing for India. And for the others, we have a very strong opposition, for example, with Russia, with China, or even Iran. So the idea at the level of the grand strategy of the US is to bring some problems in the structure of the BRICS Plus in order to separate them and to let China, in fact, almost alone. Of course, the group is dominated by China, which has the largest share of group's GDP, accounting about 70%. So the idea is to remove some part of this superstructure, which is officially the equivalent of the G7, but in reality they don't have the same relations. We have more a big country with other smaller countries, and they are trying to do something together, but they are only close, but not together. So the idea for the US is, as we will have a big opposition with China, is to keep China alone without any great alliance, for example, with Russia, to have some negotiations with Russia, even an attack against Iran, and to try to keep the others, for example, India, the United Arab Emirates, closer as Egypt to us in order to see what is going to happen in the future. So the idea is not to separate the world between the US and Russia. This is not a new Yalta. It's totally wrong to see it like this. In reality, we have something which is much more complex, much more deep, and we have to consider this if we want to understand the really mentation, not just of Donald Trump, of course, but also of his government and, of course, the new high and grand strategy of the US. So if we do this, we will see that the cases of Greenland, of Panama, of Canada, or even Ukraine or Middle East are in fact pawns in the same chessboard. And we have to find in this chessboard what are the pieces which are really important. So we are looking at new borders, we are looking at a new open universe, and not only a few closed words. So the idea is to consider this from top to below at the bottom, and to imagine that this conception of this new cycle of the evolution of the world is in reality the explanation of all that moves.